Good Thursday morning. Welcome to Run It Back. Michelle, Boogie, Lou. How are we doing, guys? Are we tired? Are we feeling happy? Let's get a
Smooth
check.
morning
We over the
to me.
hump. We getting there.
Okay, we are over the
Yeah.
hump. We are almost there. Actually, no, this is our Friday, I think, this week. So yes, no, this is it. Okay, we got this. Guys, I feel like I'm just suffering from deja vu day in, day out with this Giannis situation. See, this is the problem when a giant name is ready to move on. It takes up all of the headlines. So, Shams reporting that he's ready for a new home. Yeah, we know. By the February 5th deadline or in the offseason, said that several teams are making pretty aggressive offers already and that the Bucks are starting to listen. I think the big thing, Lou, was whether or not it was going to happen at the trade deadline, not so much whether he was actually going to leave at all. Now it really feels like he's going to leave at the trade deadline. Do you feel that?
I don't know. Not with the language. It looks like everybody's willing to be patient and see what they can get out of it. The Milwaukee Bucks are going to do what's best for the Milwaukee Bucks at the end of the day. And from what I understand, they want draft picks or they want a young talent that they can go get out of the draft that can possibly be somebody, a blockbuster guy in the future like Giannis, who they went and got in the drafting process. And so with that being said, it looks like they're going to be patient, but they're willing to listen to aggressive offers up until that trade deadline. So who knows what happens? It looks like they're not in a rush to make anything happen. It looked like Giannis is in the rush, but the Milwaukee Bucks are willing to be patient and take their time to be able to get what they want out of this whole scenario. So, if I'm a betting man, I don't know if this happens before the trade deadline because it's a limited amount of teams that can offer them things that they would want in return for Giannis. And he also has these destinations where he would like to play as well. So it's just looking like it's going to be a long process. It looks like it's going to go into the offseason to me if I'm a betting man, like I said, and so who knows what's going to happen. But it looks like both sides are ready to move on. It's just a matter of when and where.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I've spoke on it before earlier, in the year. I think this is too big of a move to happen right now. This is a franchise altering move. This changes the Milwaukee Bucks entire franchise moving forward. So I don't think this is something that can be done mid-season. Obviously, Giannis is ready to move on. He won't come out and say it, and respectfully so. I feel like that's something that's also kind of being forced and pushed. They want to hear from him straight from the horse's mouth. But I think that the message is pretty loud and clear, and the wheels are already turning behind the scenes. But I also think Milwaukee is in a situation where they want to get as much as they can out of this as well. I do think it's an off-season type of move. So with all that being said, this is something that happens in the off season. I think they will take their time. They're gonna get their best offer, and hopefully they can come to a mutual understanding and a place to where Giannis can get exactly where he wants to go.
I do think some of the Heat and the Knicks, for example, I think are a little handcuffed what they can do now versus what they can do a little later. So, and those are two of his preferred destinations, allegedly. I do think that there's something to the idea that he didn't want to be the back. I mean, look, there are very few of us who relish being the villain, right? And I do not think Giannis falls into that category. So whether or not he's directly demanded, which they're saying he has not directly demanded, but these reports are getting louder and louder, Lou. I mean, I tend to start to think there's a lot of smoke at this point. He's asked.
Yeah, but
he just hasn't asked to us.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I can enjoy the way that he's been able to handle this. Like he was going to be the bad guy either way it goes. That's just the nature of the business. That's how this goes. And so as far as not embarrassing Milwaukee, not embarrassing the team that he's on, he hasn't said a lot of negative things publicly. He hasn't asked for a trade publicly. He hasn't made a big fuss. The most embarrassing thing that we've seen is the team getting booed and him booing them back in a game that they were trying to get back into. That's one thing. But other than that, behind closed doors, I can appreciate the way that this has been handled on a professional side. This is an organization that drafted him. Not only that, they've put his brothers in uniform. They've done everything that they can do to make sure that he's happy and he's comfortable in the Milwaukee Bucks organization. And so with that, there comes a mutual respect on both sides. Everybody deserves respect, and they got a championship out of it. So when you have so many layers to a relationship You don't want to just blow it up and make it look bad out and let it play out in the public. So I can appreciate the way that this is going. You know, people are going to have things to say one way or another, whether Giannis, you know, flat out asked for a trade or whether he allowed his representation to do the talking, which it looks like that's what's been going on. And so I don't think he's going to be the bad guy in this, but you can't control the narratives when you know these storylines come out and this information comes out. You can't control how people react to it and how they feel about it. But I think he's handled this as a professional all the way through.
I think you hit it right on the head, Lou. It's definitely being done in the most respectful way, in a graceful way as well. I think this can be a really clean breakup. I think that's exactly what both sides want. I don't see them making this a nasty breakup, and for good reason. You know, everybody got, you know, the best case scenario out of this situation, and you know, sometimes things just hit the end of the road, and I think that's what this situation is. They squeezed this lemon until, you know, both sides could no more. So it's time to move on for both sides. Obviously, Milwaukee wants to find, you know, the best situation as far as their future is concerned, and the same goes for Giannis. There's no reason for this to be a nasty breakup. You know, both sides go their ways and, you know, wish each other the best moving forward.
I have been listening to a lot of callers, you know, from the Milwaukee area and Bucks fans, and they do seem very like, you know what, this has been a really great run. It seems overall pretty harmonious in the idea that it's time for him to go on.
Where do you listen to these calls?
I listen to NBA radio. I listen to NBA radio all day.
Okay.
Well, not all day. Some shows I don't care for, but it's it's just that they seem like he gave us a great run. We love him. It's time to move on. That being said,
and that's good.
There's that, and then there's the business side, right? So if you're the Bucks, do you feel the need to send him to where he actually would like to go, or are you not even taking that into consideration, Boogie?
Like I said, I think it's just too much respect, you know, to, you know, send him to a dumpster fire. I don't think they're sending him to the worst situation in the league, but I do think they'll take into consideration, you know, where he actually wants to go. I mean, and obviously, I don't think it'll just be a two team type list. You know, they'll ask for, you know, where are the 4 top destinations you want to go, and through those 4, I think they'll try to get the best, you know, get back they can from whatever situation they feel that is. So it will be some type of mutual respect, I believe.
He does have a list.
Yeah, for sure. But with that being said, we know how this business goes. The team is going to do what's best for the team. Now, if that coincides with something that Giannis wants to happen as well, obviously they will make that shake. But if they can't make it shake, they're going to do business one-on-one, which is what's best for the Milwaukee Bucks moving forward, especially if we're going to trade away our 2-time MVP and try to rebuild. We have to have something that we can stand on and that we can build off of. And so if one of these teams that's his destination or somewhere that he wants to play, if they don't have the package ready for the Milwaukee Bucks, he's still going to be a Milwaukee Buck until they get what they want out of it. And they've been very clear about that. They want draft picks, or they want a young guy they can go get in the draft that they feel like will be somebody that can move the needle for the Milwaukee Bucks moving forward in the future if they're going to move off of Giannis. And so if they can do it and everybody can be happy and both sides can coexist to a place where, you know, Milwaukee Bucks can get what they want and Giannis can land somewhere they want, that is the ideal situation. But we all know that these organizations don't operate like that the majority of the time. And I don't think this scenario is any different for Giannis as well.
I do find it fascinating that the report that and we've talked about this a lot, that his preferred quote unquote destinations are Knicks, Heat, Raptors, which are the 3 that are being also mentioned along with the Warriors, who are being sort of thrown in there as well. Lou, if I add Giannis to any one of those, and by the way, I don't know what I'm giving up to do so you just sort of have to play around with your imagination on that. Do any of those become instant contenders?
You got to say the Knicks for me, right? Like out of all of those teams, they're the most competitive right now. They have the most pieces, and they're already right there in the mix. They're already in the mix of being a contender in the Eastern Conference. But you add a Giannis to that, I think that puts them in a pretty good position, you know, to compete with the rest of the top teams in the Bostons and the Detroits of the world. If you're the New York Knicks, all of these other teams, I think if you go get Giannis, you have to make another move after another move to put those teams to be in a competitive position as great and as good as Giannis is, and as much as he had changed the culture and the dynamic of any team, I think right now the New York Knicks will be the best suited team for them to be instant contenders if you add a Giannis to that. Other than that, I think you got to make a few moves with some of these other teams.
I agree.
Mm.
I agree totally. I think the Knicks are the only team that really stands out as far as, you know, acquiring him and actually being a contender right now. When you think of teams like Miami, you think about the fit next to Bam, or if Bam is even considered in the deal. And obviously, you know, sending out whatever they have, it's still not a complete team. I think that's the same case with the Warriors. You think about the fit next to Draymond, how that works, trying to figure out that dynamic. And then you also have to consider Steve Kerr. Is he even the right guy to coach a talent like Giannis as far as how his system goes? This isn't a guy that's, you know, shown throughout his history to really tweak his system. It's more so you have to come in and fit the system. And I don't necessarily know if Giannis is, you know, the perfect fit for that system. So when I think of all those factors, the Knicks stand out the most for me.
Yeah, me too, right, Lou? It's over 2 years ago that we said that this was going to happen. No big deal.
You did.
Let's
You did.
do this. And by the way, that was from the horse's mouth over 2+ years ago at a charity event when Giannis said would love to be a Knick. Couldn't say it then. We could say it now. That's how I got that information. Okay,
There you
let's
go.
keep it moving.